And long time no see. I just looked at it.
Right.
How you doing? Good. Good, good.
How are you?
Hi. Hi, how are It's crazy. It's good.
You guys keep hiring people, and I'm like, stop hiring people.
No, they stopped me before that.
Popped in there and we look like, who was ice in
Yeah,
there?
she does have great tempo. Yeah.
Okay.
We have our
For some reason, I thought you guys got somebody else. I've seen them. Is this the first time you've seen them? Yeah. Okay, all right.
coming out.
Okay, yeah, we did MHS last week. All right.
We can see it. Yeah.
Let's go on. What are you doing?
We'll convene the Board of Education open session meeting at 7:10. Our first matter up is we're going to be having our Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Kylene Lewis, Natalie Woolard, and Mia Streeter, all from Clifton Middle School. Ladies, if you'll please come up. and guide us.
Everyone, please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Thank you very much, ladies. We were in a study session prior to this meeting. We'll be going back to that open study session after this meeting to continue our discussions on our enrollment. Next up, I'll ask Dr. Tarosian if she will please administer the oath of office to our Canyon Oaks Mountain Park student representative, Amy Gonzalez.
Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about Amy Gonzalez, but we'll do that after the oath of office once she's official. So, Amy, if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I, Amy Gonzalez, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. I'd like to invite Assistant Principal Calvin McKendrick to tell us a little bit about our newest member.
Thank you, Dr. Tarosian. Good evening, board members. Amy Gonzalez with an S at the end, by the way. Thank you for spelling that correctly. She's breaking barriers here. She's our first junior, at least at our school, to represent our schools or our ton of programs here on the board. She's 16 years old. She's a product of Wild Rose Elementary and Clifton Middle School. She is a perfect fit to represent us here because she works with Mrs. Chick at the adult school, and she is in Mountain Park, and she also goes to class with Canyon Oaks students. So she has a very broad view of all things that go on our different campuses. She enjoys doing a lot of things, but her main focus right now is school. She hopes to eventually get into law enforcement and be part of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. She is currently working at Waba Grill on Foothill, and she loves spending time with her family, especially her sister Sunai. Okay, so here's Amy Gonzalez.
Amy, don't go very far. Why don't you have some support in the audience. Before you go back to your seat, why don't you tell us who's in the audience with you?
Today I brought my mother, Maribel Bernardino, right here. And I also brought my brother, Henry Bernardino, my little sister, Sunai, and my best friend, Natalia.
Welcome, and we sure look forward to working with you for the remainder of this school year. And to your family, thank you so much for coming tonight and being a part of this. Appreciate it very much. And what is your little sister's name?
Sunai.
She has the greatest smile I've ever seen. Nice to meet you. Item F, is there anything that's on the agenda that needs to be moved?
No.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Just for the record, on our roll call, Mr. Rich is excused. Up next is recognitions and the Board of Education, which is to congratulate Monrovia High School senior Sarah Farley on becoming a semifinalist in the National Merit Scholarship. And who is here? Ah, Mr. McGinnis. Usually sit so much closer to the front, I can see you. I saw Mr. Lujan. There you go. Mr. McGinnis from the high school.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Members of the board, cabinet, superintendent, community, members of the audience this evening. It's a privilege and an honor for me to introduce to you an outstanding Wildcat. Sarah Farley is currently a senior at Monrovia High School, and she's here to be recognized for her intelligence and her accomplishment on the PSAT test that she took last year. The PSAT test is administered to our juniors, and it assesses their overall knowledge in language arts and math. And she scored so exceptionally well that she is our one and only representative of Monrovia High School in the National Merit Honor Scholarship competition. She is currently a semifinalist in and among about 20,000 other students in the nation, and we hope and wish her the best of luck in this next portion of the contest, and hope that she is awarded a scholarship in her efforts and achievements to seek further education after Monrovia High School. So it's an honor for me to have worked with Sarah and her older brother and her family. They're all great supporters of Monrovia High School and active participants in everything that we do. And her accomplishment is something that we're very proud of, and we know that it's come from a lot of hard work. So congratulations on behalf of Monrovia High School, Ms. Sarah Farley.
As we get ready for this photo, I want to mention that this represents, or Sarah represents, the top 1.5% of students across the nation in their achievement with the PSAT.
Good job. Yes. Thank you. Do it on yourself. Sometimes. Yeah, that's fantastic. Good. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. You want to come on down?
Yeah, come on down.
Shot?
Come on, Shop.
Up next, Dr. Terosian will make some very pertinent announcements about some people that deserve to be recognized.
We had a wonderful start of the school year this year with our schools being immaculate, our students being transported by trusted adults, with a great deal of work being done over the summer in terms of getting products into classrooms and making sure that our students had everything they need. And we'd like to recognize the departments and the people who made all of that happen. What I'd like to do is start with Charles Kubakin, and he will, at the podium, introduce his team with all of their help.
Okay. I would like to recognize Helen Hernandez, Lori Burton, Dawn Perpetuat, Hugo Casas, Tito Morga, Lisa Woods, and Rosebeek Persic. Even though I didn't see the majority of the setup, I do know that it was a big undertaking. Let me tell you, having to plug in all the adapters into the outlets inside those cards and routing the cables through the cards and making sure that it's nicely done is not a task that someone breezes by. You know, especially when you have 30 cards, that's roughly 900 plus wires that you have to route through. Setting up the Dell Chromebooks that are out there at the various school sites. When I first came here, I personally set up one of the Dell Chromebooks personally, and it took me approximately 15 minutes. And even though 15 minutes may not sound like a lot, when you're doing that many devices, it does all add up. And especially when you're trying to work as efficiently as possible and trying to set them all up at the same time, it's a big undertaking. You know, this summer season, there were some employees that normally take the summer off and possibly spend it with family or go on vacation. You know, instead, some of these employees chose to spend their weekdays and for some their weekends to help set up thousands of these devices that are out there right now, and all this for the benefit of the Monrovia students. You know, thank you, and thank you.
And on top of all of that, they were over at the high school helping rewire and put all that whole system back together so we could open that wing back up on the start of school.
Thank you.
Good job. You get that congratulations
Oh. Maybe if only there were a photo
No,
taken.
you got a lot of doing
I
right.
know.
I was told others were showing up.
They sent the
Maybe.
best.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2.
Thank you. Wow, that's what was easy to decide.
And now we have Connie Wu representing the remainder, who will introduce the remaining.
Yes, I would like to invite the Mr. Vance Machadi introduce his department.
Fortunately, we work them real hard, so they're not here tonight. They start at 6:30 in the morning. They're home resting up for another brutal day, tomorrow. But if they were here, we have Maria Barnes, James Campbell, Noelia Delgado, Luisa Escandon, Damian Fluker, Tom Hunt, Mark Hulaga, Nick Melendez, Patty Montoya, Kevin Neiman, Dennis Rios, Cynthia Rosales, Mark Sanchez, Charlie Segovia, Brandon Silva, Pat Carter, and Sheila Weaver. And these folks all worked hard during the summer with getting things that were broken taken care of. We planted some new grass, trimmed a few trees, cleaned out gutters. The biggest thing I think we have to, couple big things. Our plumber went through the department and took care of all the drinking fountains. If one of them's not working, it's because we didn't know about it. But all the drinking fountains have been rebuilt and or repaired so that all the students have water from the fountains this year. But I think the single biggest thing we did is on the first day of school, no children were lost. They all got home safely. on the buses, and everything went well. There was a couple instances where parents lost their children, but we did not. With that, thank you very much.
Let me add one thing that you probably don't even know, Vince. Friday night's football game. We were at Damien, and Damien band didn't do their field show at halftime. They were going to do it after the game. And so our band director asked if it would be possible to wait so that the band could observe Damien's field show. And the bus driver said, sure, we'll stay.
Thank you.
That's the way they serve us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, Vince.
And Connie will identify the remaining.
I would also want to take this opportunity to thank the warehouse and the purchasing department. And they worked so hard, and two of them, one is sick now at home rest, and one of them been injured during the beginning of school year. So those employees are Valento Maranada, Gabriel Romero, Fred Seas, and Nelson Santo. Nelson Santo is the director, and Fred is a retired employee because we need additional help, and he coming to help us out. And four of them, they deliver a lot of IT equipment, card, and a textbook all across the school's campus, and as well as supplies, to make sure that at the beginning of the school year, each student have pencil, paper, and a textbook, and also all the teachers have the textbook, instruction material, and IT device. And we are so happy that our employees work so hard, and they deserve the recognition. And thanks for recognizing them at this board meeting.
Thank you. Up next is board member reports. Mr. Gilman.
Just a couple of things. I want to remind everyone that a week from tomorrow is October 6th, and that's Read Across Monrovia. If you've signed up to read in one of our classrooms, thank you. If you haven't, Joanne Springs will be more than happy to sign you up to read to our kids. And Read Across Monrovia is one of the great things we do here in the literacy program as a community effort. So be aware of that. This last Monday night, Los Angeles County School Trustees Association had a speaker. His name is Dr. Frank Harris from San Diego State University. His research and one of his emphasis is how do we bridge this achievement gap, and how do we teach? He's looking at both college level and K-12, but how do we teach men and boys of color? Is there something that we're not doing right? And he's developed some programs to help teachers with the specific issue of how do you relate to boys and men of color, and are there things that we need to be doing? And he's got some terrific information. It's not just pertinent to boys and men of color, but boys in general. I don't know if you've ever watched a 5-year-old boy and his sister walk along together, and the sister will walk along very calmly, and the boy will be up on the wall, they'll be on the rocks, they'll be jumping in the puddles, and you know, there's some basic differences in the way things work in boys and girls' mind, as a generality. But some of his research is just so interesting, and I would urge everyone to go on the internet and look at Dr. Frank Harris's research and his information on the way teachers need to relate to boys and men of color, but students in general, with a heavy emphasis on the boys. So that was an excellent talk. I certainly enjoyed it, and I think that will result in some improvements in the way we're able to relate to those kids and deal with the achievement gap issues.
Thank you. Last week, our last meeting on the 14th, we recognized Ken Singleton, Mr. Ken Singleton from our food services department. Monday, we bid farewell to him as he put on his other hat where he is Major Ken Singleton, and he will be heading to Honduras. The school district applied for and is going to receive a Blue Star banner in Ken's name that will be hung on whatever street, either Myrtle or Huntington. I received a letter from the city, and October the 4th, I will go to the city at their special meeting for Blue Star families, and I will collect the Blue Star that will come back here and be at the school district while Ken is serving for the next year in Honduras. I just want to let the board know. Anything else? Now we get to hear our student report for all the things that are great and happening over at Canyon Oaks Mountain Park.
I'm pleased to report that Canyon Oaks and Mountain Park had our back to school night on Tuesday, September 12th, 2016, and it was a success. We had over 100 people in attendance, including our board president, Rob Hammond, and our board members, Ed Gillen and Terrence Williams, and also our lovely superintendent, Dr. Kathy Terosian. Parents attended workshops about digital citizenship, career pathways, and graduation requirements. Afterwards, everyone participated in a game show, enjoyed dinner, and prizes. Parents had the opportunity to meet with teachers to discuss expectations and learn about our goals for the year ahead. We want to welcome two new teachers to the Canyon Oaks and Mountain Park family. Our new construction teacher, Mr. Harry Terrell, and our new automotive teacher, Mr. Matt Kelly. Our career pathway programs are really taking off this year. We're excited about the year ahead and are looking forward to living out our new motto and slogan. Graduation Nation, all students enter to learn and go forth to earn. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Dr. Terosian did not give you the language to write about her description, did she? Just wanted to make sure that was your own words and you weren't getting some prompting from the lady on your right.
That was the key, wasn't it, Rob? The hair
Just
went
wait
right
till
out.
you hear the report next time.
Thank you, Amy, and welcome. Up next, we have a report from our superintendent, the lovely superintendent, Dr. Kathy Terosian.
Thank you, Board President Hammond, members of the board. We have, actually, what I'm going to do is Kirk McGinnis still here? We had some interesting activity happen at Monrovia High School, and I thought it would be appropriate to let the public know what exactly occurred today.
Yes, thank you again. Good evening, everybody. We today at just after 12 o'clock, I got a phone call from the Monrovia Fire Department informing and sharing with me that they were going to be using our outfield of our baseball field to land a helicopter to assist in the medical transport for a critically ill patient. So the question was, are there kids out there, and do you need to get them cleared out? And made a couple quick radio announcements, radio calls and phone calls, and our baseball field wasn't actually being used at that point. Kids were in class, and our PE classes were actually in the locker room getting ready to come out. So it was an easy opportunity to clear the area, open up our gates, allow the emergency medical technicians and the emergency crew to get in, and in a matter of moments, a helicopter landed. They loaded the patient in and transported. It was an infant that they needed to transport to County USC Medical Facility, and in a matter of moments they were off and they were away. So it was. I wanted to recognize the expedient response on my staff initially, and then as well as to see the Monrovia Fire Department act so quickly and in a great coordinated fashion to aid in the assistance for that young individual. We hope that everything is going smoothly for her. She was crying on her way out, so that's a good sign. So it was responsive at least, and so I just want to thank the fire department for being so quick and great communicators, and wanted to inform the board and the community that we work nicely and in coordination with our emergency technician, our emergency personnel. So.
Thank you, Principal McGinnis. And it is all clear on campus now. and our thoughts are certainly with the family of that infant. A couple of other items. Today we had the privilege of witnessing really an amazing presentation by Wild Rose Elementary School with Principal Leslie Miller and Head Custodian Ray Alarcon. We had been selected for a Golden Bell visit, site validation visit, for the Team Bruin program there, and it was an amazing presentation. I was more impressed by it the second time around, and we hope to hear some good news. We also have a couple of other visitations and presentations. I'd like to provide you with some dates. The Foothill Consortium is having an open house at the City of Hope, where we, along with a few other districts, will be presenting our new academies. Monrovia High School will be there, presenting on the information technology pathway that they're creating and working on for this year. That's on October 12th from 4 to 6 at the City of Hope. We also have a Schools to Watch visit on October 13th. Clifton Middle School has been selected to be visited by the Schools to Watch Committee. It's a validation visit, and we are hopeful that they are successful in this endeavor. This is probably the highest honor a middle school can possibly receive in this nation. So the work and effort done by the Clifton team has demonstrated and manifested itself in certainly student achievement and just a wonderful, wonderful program. And finally, our adult school is going to be visited by Assemblymember Chris Holden. Ms. Chick could probably tell me more about it, but on October 19th, as a model of what is possible at an adult school, we'll have a visitation by Assemblymember Holden. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have public comments on items not on the agenda. Simply fill out a speaker form and you shall be heard. Do we have any speakers?
There are none.
Anyone wishing to speak to the board on any item that is not on the agenda? Seeing and hearing no one, will close that portion. Up next are public comments for items on the agenda. Simply fill out a speaker form and you shall be heard. Do we have any speakers? We have the speakers. Anyone wishing to speak to the board on any item that is on the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that portion. We'll take up the matter of informational reports and presentations and a report on Senate Bill 415.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board and community. Senate Bill 415 is a California Voter Rights Act, and its attempt to increase voter participation during elections. What it does is it asks municipalities such as the district, the Monrovia Unified School District, to gauge whether or not voter turnout during district-only elections are meet or are within 25% of voter turnout during national elections. So our elections currently are in November in odd years. The next one that we have scheduled is in November 2017. And if we don't meet the threshold and are within 25% of voter turnout at that time, we would need to adjust our election cycle to be in conjunction with that of the state and national, and would likely look at an even year cycle. So November of even years, our next, we may be compelled to review our elections and have our next election in November of 2018, for example. It's still in the early stages. We need to do a little more research, but I thought since the law goes into effect in January of 2018 and we need to be in compliance, we'd better begin working to make sure that we really are reviewing carefully to make sure that we are in compliance with the requirements.
The impact to this body is that everybody who is currently elected, if this were to become the rule, would have their terms extended by one more year. So anybody who was up in 17 would then be up in 18. Anyone who would be up in 19 would then be done in 20. So that would be the impact to us until everything works its way out.
I thought I heard you say that we would look at what the data was when we had our election in 2017, and that would make the determination. Did I misunderstand?
Yes, I should probably clarify. We need to look at our data from the last 4 years of elections, and it would impact the determination for the November 2017.
4 years, not 4 elections.
The last 4 years.
Okay, so that would be 2 elections.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the voter turnout for state and local elections.
And that is elections that were held, not elections that weren't held because there was no competition. So that would go.
One election.
Okay.
What this means to the public, if you think, and this is, well, I think it's a bad idea. I understand the intent, but I think it's a poor idea. Particularly for Monrovia, when we have an election and the only thing, and oh, by the way, there's really no money savings to us that we can foresee for holding an election. It's the same amount of money. The issue is when you have an election that the only thing of interest that's on that election is who's going to represent you on your school board, on your city, then it's really about you, your community. This way, school boards and cities get shoved to the back of the ballot because the first thing up is the federal, the next thing up is the state, the next thing up is the county, and then there's propositions, and then at the very tail end of that ballot, after you've had voter fatigue, then you get to vote on the things that impact you locally. I think it's incorrect. I think we should be able to vote the way we want to vote, but that's merely my point of view. But that's the impact that it has to the community here. We no longer are able to say, the only thing on that ballot is what really impacts me and interests me the most is how my locally elected officials are going, who are they going to be, and how we select them. Anyway, that's Prop 415, or Senate Bill 415. Up next we have the consent calendar, and you'll notice that it's in a different format from the past. We've taken all of the consent items out of the different departments and laid them off in one concise field. And so, if I may please have a motion on consent?
Move. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item J is on the action items. Once again, it's a little bit different look. It's no longer, it's done by category, but it's a little bit more precise. First is educational services, and it's a public review of the recommended textbook, and Dr. Sue Kaiser takes the lead.
Thank you, President Hammond and Board. Tonight we have the recommended textbook that we are asking for you to adopt. That is for our Informational Technology Academy, the Informational Technology Academy that Dr. Terosian was referring to earlier. And this is for the digital video course, Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book by Adobe Press.
And I'm sorry, is there any questions? Just one. The book was up for review. Did anybody make any comments?
Nobody made any comments.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item number 2, Dr. Kaiser.
Yes, tonight we're bringing forward the Educator Effectiveness Plan, and to that end we are required to hold a public hearing to discuss the Educator Effectiveness Plan prior to the adoption that will be brought forward on October 12th. The Educator Effectiveness Plan is a grant that was given to the school districts, and what Monrovia receives is $458,191. There are four purposes for these funds. They may be used for beginning teacher and administrator support and mentoring, professional development, coaching, and support services for teachers identified as needing improvement or additional support. 3, professional development for teachers and administrators that aligns to state adopted content standards. And number 4, to promote educator quality and effectiveness. To that end, we are recommending that we use these funds to fund our beginning teacher program, the BITSA program, which affects all the teachers that are new to our district in grades K through 12. Our SWAN Math professional development that supports our Common Core and the adoption that we have, and that affects our teachers kindergarten through 5th grade. To fund dynamic education, which is providing professional development for our middle school and high school teachers in the area of mathematics, and for our focus schools coaching and mentoring of teachers and administrators.
Any questions?
2 questions. First question is, I don't see it on here, but I believe if we're required to have a public hearing, we need to open the public hearing.
Going to.
Okay. Second question has to do with the plan itself. The plan shows that we have set aside $25,000 for beginning teacher training on the BTSA for 17, 18, 16, 17. It then shows we set aside $180,000, if I'm reading this correctly, for professional development for all K-12 teachers for SWAM Math. So $25,000 for beginning teachers, $180,000 for all teachers, and then dynamic education is only $28,191 for all K-12 teachers. Why is there the difference in the amount?
The differences here would indicate for the BITSA, it's the teachers that are new to our district, so it's only our brand new teachers, and this is the cost that we pay for our BITSA consortium and the providers of our BITSA program. The SWAN Math provides administrative coaching and teacher coaching on a monthly basis every single month, and it's for every single teacher within the district. The dynamic education is professional development that is occasional pulling of teachers and working with them after school in our secondary schools, and so it's a less time-consuming program. The SWAN Math, the cost that is incurred there is in relation to the materials and the program that we're using.
Okay, but all K-12 teachers are going to receive some kind of training on dynamic education.
Well, it actually is, the professional development for dynamic education is actually 6 through 12.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Those are my 2 questions.
This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Maybe please.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Next, item number 3, board policy.
Yes.
Supervisor show.
Yes. This item is reflective of board policy 6152.1, placement in mathematics courses and accompanying administrative regulations. And we're asking for the action to adopt this board policy that was written in accordance with guidelines that were given to us by the state in developing mathematics course placement exams and then monitoring of our students to ensure success for our students. and the policy has been written. It was shared in our previous meeting, in our last board meeting, and it's attached to the board agenda item here.
Any questions?
One question. There have been no changes to that policy since the first reading last meeting, correct?
There have been no changes.
Okay. We neglected to say bring it back on consent, but.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Please have a vote.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item number 4 is an amendment to the superintendent contract that we approved on the 14th. After review of some of the documentation, there was a clerical error that resulted in a reduction in pay instead of an addition in pay. And so the document before you tonight reflects that correction, and we have to bring it back for a vote. Any questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? May you please have a vote.
Board Member Williams?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Absolutely, yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Dr. Tarosian, any pending board issues?
There's just one. Our textbook certification will likely come at our next meeting, and that would be the only amendment to the pending board items.
Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be here on October the 12th and October the 26th, 2 in November on the 9th and the 16th. As Mr. Gilliland reported earlier, Read Across Monrovia is coming a week from tomorrow, and A Taste of Monrovia is a week from Sunday. And if there's no further business before this body, we will stand adjourned at 7:53. Well, that's an open meeting.
I thought we were reconvening study session and closed session.
No, we have a closed session. I didn't see anything. I didn't need to see it. I'm cool. How you guys tell me it's bad? Like, rough? It's bad. Okay.
Not yet.
I'm leaving.
We're not, there's no resolution yet.
You need your autograph. Yeah, you can have.